Szanowni Państwo, okropnie mi przykro, że to już ostatni panel, który dla Państwa zapowiadam. Te dyskusje mogłyby trwać jeszcze dłużej, ponieważ temat robotyzacji i digitalnej transformacji to temat rzeka. Jednak mieliśmy tylko 2 dni. Mam nadzieję, że zobaczymy się wszyscy w przyszłym roku. Ogrom wiedzy, inspiracji i motywacji do działania. Tym były te panele, które już za nami, a przed nami ostatni panel AI with Human Face, panel w języku angielskim, po którego zakończeniu zostańcie Państwo z nami na krótkie podsumowanie. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my honor to invite you to the last panel at the DBR77 conference. The panel will be moderated by Bartosz Ziółek, and his guests will be Derek Hoffman, Aleksander Poniewierski, Torian Richardson, and Mohan Shekhar. And the meeting will begin with an AI-generated avatar of Professor Aleksandra Przegalińska. Have a nice time and let us know how do you like the discuss. Thank you.
A warm welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Speaking to you is not Aleksandra Przegalińska in the flesh, but her digital avatar. My creator, Professor Aleksandra Przegalińska, could not be with us in person today. However, thanks to advances in artificial intelligence, I am conveying her thoughts, ideas, and enthusiasm to you through this perfectly designed surrogate. With advanced facial and voice scanning technologies, I was created to replicate her appearance and personality as closely as possible. Our goal is to show that artificial intelligence can serve not only as a working tool, but also as a means for us to be present where we are not physically. Today's panel, AI with a Human Face, is not just a discussion of the latest developments in artificial intelligence. It's also a call to reflect on how we can shape the future of technology so that it serves the good of all humanity, supports our daily activities, and reflects our shared human values. Thank you for being with us today. I invite you to actively participate in the panel and join us on our fascinating journey toward a future where AI has a human face. Welcome to AI with a Human Face.
Hi there, welcome to our panel. Torian, Dirk, Mohan, Alexander, it's a pleasure to be with you today. I welcome you from Berlin, just where you are right now. Torian.
Greetings. Greetings, everyone. I'm calling in from the Chicagoland area. Happy to be here and look forward to having a lively discussion around AI and the human face of it.
Yeah, a few words about yourself, Torian, to just
sure.
know you better.
I'm originally from the Chicagoland area. I've been working for the past 25 years as a trained in finance, as well as education technology, consulting, executive coaching, and currently around inclusive recruiting and talent with an organization called NVIDIA. That is my current role, and also do early stage investments, as well as some consulting and board seats.
Thank you so much. Let's run the table. It will be more like a run this screen. Alexander, where you are, and a few words about yourself.
Good afternoon, everyone. Aleksander Poniewierski. I speak to you from Warsaw, Poland. I hope we will enjoy the discussion about the human face in our era of transformation, especially with artificial intelligence and other emerging technologies. I am a retired partner from UI after 20 years being responsible for digital and emerging technologies globally. At my final stage of a career, I run over 12,000 people around the globe with the revenue over $1.2 billion from emerging technologies, including AI and others.
Thank you so much. Okay, few words about yourself, Dirk. Where you are?
Yeah, hi. I'm today actually in Hamburg. We'll be in Berlin tomorrow. So in that sense, moving a bit around as such, living in Munich. But yeah, quickly about myself. I'm one of the co-founders of Dane Studios. Dane Studios is a AI consultancy. We are in that field for now 8 years. We actually have just reached the 8 years this month. I have been in more on the corporate side with Deutsche Telekom, with Nokia, and Siemens in the field of data and AI already the years before, so almost 20 years in that business. As such, with Dane, we have our key offices are Munich, Berlin, and Helsinki. We are a German-Finnish company and working with clients on making AI work for them, so different sizes and so on.
Thank you for sharing. So it sounds like a beer tomorrow in Berlin. So Mohan, where are you? And a few words about yourself.
Yeah, I'm calling from sunny London. No, not exactly sunny. It's raining outside. So
that's rare.
So I work for SAP. I head that services industries across Europe region. So what I do is I look at innovations across all our customers in services industries. Especially now, what we talk about business AI, all customers are excited about generative AI. I think that's a first step. Every customer's mind is, what can I do with the generative AI use cases? And I'm saying that the first step is there are a lot of things you can do in the AI. You don't have to look into the general AI, generative AI, but there are something like normal AI you can start with, because adoption becomes a key. Because whatever the use cases we can opt for it, the adoption is a key, and ethical constraint is one thing that we need to look into it. We can discuss more on this in detail.
Great, Mohan. Thank you for sharing. Okay, I would start maybe with the bias that we have here, because I will not say that this panel is gender balanced. So sorry for that. We will do better next year for sure, because it's important to have like equal voices in this discussion. But I would like to start not exactly with the face as the name of the panel, but I will try maybe to navigate us into touch, because the multimodality is the new big word, maybe not new, but the big word in the world of AI, and we're trying to create or recreate the ability for AI and Gen AI in particular to be more closer to our senses. But on the other way, in the automatic, robotic, and machine world, when AI is entering, the touch and move is not something what is easy to capture, because radio and TV and movies exist for decades, and it's easy to use the stream of data to simply create algorithms and patterns in neural networks. But we cannot say this about movement, because sensors in like big scale are used for last few years, I would say, and that usually we didn't gather those data in proper way. So I'm wondering how we can use the new tools which bring the AI to simply teach and learn how the robots can move better, how can they be closer with us, and what does it mean for us that maybe in the coming future those sensors will as well inject completely new knowledge about how they move, how we should move, and how robots should move, and how we can touch with the robot. Torian, what are your thoughts on that?
Yes, absolutely. I will actually take the conversation back to inclusion. It's very important that as we are at this really pivotal point in human history, that we do consider, when it comes to movement, programming, large language models, how we do bring a variety of voices to the table. And that's not just from product development and from a programming standpoint, but it is actually how do we interact. So for me, I always try to have that human sense at the very beginning. And so as we're considering it, one of the things that I would challenge all of our listeners and watchers, viewers to think about is, if you are with an organization, or if you're part of an organization, or even founding an organization, making sure that you are intentionally from the beginning bringing in a variety of voices, not just gender, but we're talking about cultural range, We're talking about geographic range. These are the attributes that are going to be really important to how we interact in the future. And since we are at the very beginning, well, not at the very beginning, but the early stages of how generative AI and AI will interact with humans, it becomes that much more important. So I always like to preface with that in any conversation that we have, because we want this new trajectory that we're moving to really represent the world that we are a part of. So I do take it back to the panel. And I know that going forward, that is something that we will focus on. But I think it's really important for us to plant that seed at the beginning of the conversation. So I'll leave my first comment there and look forward to any other comments or thoughts that anyone else has.
Yeah, I have one comment. Let's look on the situation, the different angle. Maybe the demand of to clone Aleksandra Przegalińska to have her with us. So maybe that's a good sign that the market is already, demanding of women and AI, and cloning is right now the only way. But probably in the coming future, we simply will have more balance. But I totally agree that it's not about only gender; it's about all the dimensions. So yeah, we can stay for a second in the bias question. So what are your thoughts, Dirk? Do you feel that we're losing something important because we still looking at the same way from the same countries and the same perspectives?
Yeah, I think maybe as a starting point, I think in that sense, I forgot to mention that when I introduced Dane, because we are 3 founders and actually 2 of them, so my 2 co-founders are Ulla and Sarah. So we, in that sense, we are quite balanced in that sense, and bias is an important topic, and especially I think because if we really look into, and maybe a bit back to your introduction and so on, is that if I look into how do we currently use AI and how do we develop actually solutions, in a way we try to model human behavior, we try to model expertise. So typically the starting point is that we look into how is an expert doing a certain task, and then we model that. And I think this is also, of course, and I think just building on what has been said before, is that, of course, the more variety we bring into that one, the more resilient, the more robust, the more kind of innovative the solution will be. That is I would say, this is why I see the opportunity of AI. So that means if we fall back into bias, it in principle means we are limiting the potential of AI in that sense. And that would be stupid in that sense. It would really limit our opportunity. And therefore, I think from an ethical point of view, I think this is kind of an obvious discussion we have. But really, if you want to get, kind of really advanced to the next level, then bias would mean we limit what we kind of we train and we develop on our AI models and so on. So everything which kind of limits us is kind of a missed opportunity. And therefore, I think for me, this is a kind of a second driving force to be as broad and be as and diverse in all aspects, expertise, cultural topics, age, you name it. And it doesn't kind of, everything limits us, and that's something we shouldn't do.
Yeah, that totally agree. Okay, Mohan, what's the voice in this matter from the sunny London?
No, it's funny actually, because the biased one, right? I think because I was just trying out yesterday. My son name is Aryan, and I was trying to Claude AI to say that my son is Aryan, is 11 years old. Can you give me some couple of questions where I can ask him about the new finance budget which came out in the UK? And it came back saying that, oh, okay, I can't give you because you're racist. And I was like, where am I being racist? And it says Aryan race is pertaining to the World War and everything. So I will not answer anything related to Aryan. And I'm saying it to the AI, saying that Aryan is my son name. So, but it still doesn't want to give me the answer. So this is where the data set or the data fusion, which how do you train your data, becomes more critical. And when it comes to the multimodal AI, I think the complex data fusion and the scarcity of data set with the diverse sensing information becomes more important. How do you get this data to make sure that you train your AI ethically as well? It's always the challenging part where I see going forward.
Yeah, that's absolutely fair point. And Alexander, what's your view?
We have diversity when we talk about when we talk about the hairstyle, right? So it's full diversity here. So at least we have 1 point. Talking about maybe I will focus on Bartosz on your point about the sensing, and I think it is very right one. So when we talk about new technologies, we can definitely split those discussion between two different situations. The first one is when we talk about evolutionary technology. The evolutionary technology had a very interesting point that technology follow habit, right? So if we talk about something which is really ticking, we follow the human habit. When we talk about revolutionary technology, the technology create habit. And the biggest mistake in the humankind was to always try to follow the humankind habit. And the biggest innovation in technology, the way how we use things, are completely opposite the senses, the way how we live in the past. I will give you 3 examples. So first is a car, right? So for years, the innovation was trying to make a horse riding faster, right? We sit on the horse, right? So every innovation was put in this box that we need to sit on the horse. And one day someone has invented a car when we put ourselves into the horse, right? Very I mean, it is exactly about the revolution. When revolution create the habit, right? Before car, we never sit inside the horse, right? So it's another great example is to replicate how birds fly, right? The birds fly and moving the wings, right? So for decades, for thousands of years, people try to fly, and they replicate the concept that they need to have a wing and move the wings. And suddenly, the Wright brothers create the airplane when the wings are stable, right? It is complete, and again, the people are inside the horse, right? So they are. It is completely different from the way how we perceive the technology, how we think about technology. So the revolution is about thinking out of the box. Glasses. All of you have glasses, right? So when we think about glasses, we think in evolutionary way. So all those new virtual reality glasses trying to replicate our habits. So we think we do a difference, but in reality we do an evolutionary thinking. So probably the revolution, which will create a new kind of, let me say, VR or a mixed reality, will change completely the way of wearing glasses to have glasses. I don't want to say that we will have glasses inside our body, but maybe it is the idea. And this, when we think and talk about AI, it is exactly the same concept, right? Thinking a revolutionary technology, trying to do the scheme that technology follow habits, but we think we must start thinking about the revolutionary when the habits will be created by technology, and the way how we will interact with this technology will completely change.
Yeah, I love this idea that habits created technology, but in a revolutionary time, it will be another way around. And let's back to touch. Let's back to move, because that's like a big question mark for me. How we will replicate, because following your thought, Alexander, that means that maybe there are more efficient and more accurate kind of move than what we are doing right now, and replicate the human body maybe is not the best solution. Maybe we should simply use the neural network to create completely new way of transforming the movement into, for example, something completely new. And I'm wondering, because I never introduced myself during the panel, believe me or not, but I am a banker. So I'm not exactly the best match here among the AI specialists, but I was for like almost 15 years in China working in tech invest and digital. So I believe that I saw on my own eyes how the world is changing. So back into the question, how do you feel about the how AI will change how all the robots and devices are moving and how they touching? Because right now all the sensors are only used to avoid any contact. That's why the robots have all the sensors. So Torian, how do you think how we will replicate move in the AI era?
Well, thank you. I think you touched on it. I think part of it will be some level of replication. I do think that part of it will be ways in which we can move that we are unaware of, right? If we take it back to the point around us being in a revolutionary time, right? And the importance of bringing a variety of different perspectives to the table, that becomes the catalyst where we do have new ways of movement, new ways of developing the technology and the robots that will dictate how we move, that will create new habits. So I think every point that we've spoken about to this point actually is a part of the cycle, right? What's important is understanding that, one, it is a cycle. Two, that it's a cycle that repeats itself. And as it repeats itself, when we're bringing variety to the table, we're testing new language models, we're testing new ways in which we interact, which brings forth new movement, that we move back to that stage in which we are starting to think about things differently. We're bringing in, taking it back to the variety conversation, we're bringing in Gen Z and then Gen Alpha, who have experienced the world completely different. I'm speaking from a US standpoint, so that's my bias, right? But if you are a part of Gen Alpha and you're working with Snap or Snapchat, which is what it used to be called, showing your location and where you are and who you're with is a part of everyday life. For maybe all of us on this call, I'm speaking for all of us. For me, not so much. I'm aware of it. It's something that I don't practice, but that influences how that generation shows up, how they interact, and their contribution to what movement actually means. So my direct answer would be, I don't know directly. However, I am open to the possibility. And I think it starts with discussions like this. And individually, it starts with us really uncapping, and I'm speaking for anyone, it doesn't have to be anyone working in AI. How do we uncap our traditional frames of thinking so that we can be open to new ways to do that? So try to keep it as people-centered as possible, which is kind of my center. And I think that's one of the ways we'll be able to do that, just as a human race across the planet.
Yeah,
because it will affect everyone.
Yeah, thank you for that. I think that in the way Jay-Z generation looks like they so used to, especially in China, because in China, in every hotel, restaurant, and so on, you already have robots. And there is what's more, the cars are already described like a third living space, that simply people are spending a time in cars, not only for driving. They have like a huge screens, PlayStation, and so on. So this is as well. I think that it's not directly connected with AI, but in the way this is the sign that we're changing our habits, as you mentioned. And for question from Mohan, about your kid, you think that the robots will be the big part of their lives? Like they will work with them together, or they will play with them together?
I think if you ask me, I think they have to work with them together. I think that the world is changing so fast. You see the world. Let's take an example of autonomous car, which is coming so fast, right? How exactly it's autonomous car is looking at the visuals and the auditory sensors, and it's making the right decisions. If you go to California as an example, you have Waymo, you have Cruise, which is automatically operating in San Francisco at this time. And if you go to China, like, you have Baidu, Apollo Go, as well as AutoX are the two which are leading in autonomous car. And how they are doing it, like, I took my son to California, and one thing was he was amazed about how autonomous car, and he started thinking process as a young kid at 11 years old. Oh, I can do a lot of things. The first thing is lot of things is playing a games, because you have the screen. You don't have to drive. I can play the games continuously while I'm going to school or anything else. So from my perspective, I see that the humans going forward has to have a parallel life, having the robots or the way the AI exists. It has to be go hand in hand. Obviously, ethical needs to comes in the place. Who controls what? So if we have that in control, I think today one of the day which EU has made an act possible as well. EU is the first where act has been passed today. I think that's where it will be in the right direction for corporates and others to have ethical consideration of what they can use AI going forward as well.
Yeah, that's right. 2 months ago, I was in this robotaxi in one of the Chinese cities, and it's of course super exciting till the moment when you are on the two lanes road, and the car need to turn left, and and I was laughing till this moment. And the next 25 seconds when you're in the back seat and there's no driver, and you just realize that you need to cross the line, that there's other cars and people driving. That's really even more exciting, I would say. Okay, Dirk, how do you feel that the move, the touch, this will be more present in our life, and how AI will be helpful here?
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's a very interesting situation, because if I think also building on Mohan and your example in that sense, because currently I would say we already start to have this coexistence between, and some I think in the industrial sector I've seen a lot of cobot solutions and so on. So this collaboration between a robot and person. But at the moment we are very strict in the rules that we kind of, if you want to get the full performance of a robot, you go into a warehouse and it's high speed, it's climbing, it goes all dimensions much faster. But if you would put a person there, it would be total chaos in that sense, because we haven't learned how to do this communication. Now in autonomous driving and those things, we started to implement that, but we are very strict from a rule where we say that whatever happens, the robot needs to mute, and that's also kind of need to step back and so on, which goes back to your initial question, which means at the moment, we will not be able to use the full potential in that sense. So I think you're currently in Berlin. I think a robot taxi in Berlin with a kind of a typical taxi driver in Berlin, it will be 10 times faster to go with the typical taxi driver at the moment, with all danger and so on. But that means, back to your point in that sense, that if we really want to leverage the potential, the main thing is we need to find ways that we can better communicate with the robotics and so on. So because robotics currently their biggest problem, and I think you could even bring it down to our current experience with Gen AI, is the biggest problem what we have in getting the best result out. We need to learn and introduce context. We need to introduce what is the reason why now this answer is right, and why maybe 2 minutes later the same answer is wrong, and so on. And I think this is, one of the biggest area of innovation where we need to find ways that we have better ways to kind of express context. And of course, we have better solutions which are able to receive this context and act on this one. And I think this is maybe also what Alexander said. I think that's maybe for me also a bit this horse question, because currently it's, of course, our anticipation is that robots need to understand how we act. and maybe this is a limitation, and we need to think about it differently.
Yeah, but from those panels in last like a few hours and yesterday, we learned that the biggest change which is happening right now in robotization is that there is less and less programming and more like a natural comments. And probably in few next years, it will be based on AI evolution, possible to simply ask the one of robot or machine or whatever to pick up the box from the shelf over there and take it to somewhere else, and it's simply the programming will be not the case anymore. Alexander, what do you think that how AI can help in this adaptation of this natural language in communication with machines that Dirk just mentioned?
I mean, backing to my points, maybe I will be here as a kind of referee for taking us to reality. I think people, I mean, again, the humankind, we are very protecting ourselves, right? It was for decades, for years, for centuries. And the people nature is to regulate. So when we think something can happen, we are trying to protect ourselves as a nature, right? So two examples. Do you remember the typing machine, right? Like you know,
typewriter.
Yes, typewriter, right? And the query concept, right? The query concept of the input device, right, was not to make the thing simpler, but to make the thing slower, right? Because the IBM machines was so fast that if you not complicate the keyboard, the machine just simply stop or did a mistake, right? So what we did, we have established a standard to complicate and slow down the process, right? Right now we talk about the communication. Why is that? Not because we cannot control machine in physical contact when we have the physical contact. We are thinking about the communication in remote contact. And it is why we talk about the voice, and we talk about you know, controlling the machine with different part of our body. Let me say, not only by eyes movement, but also by for example odor of our bodies, right? So the control is right now developed in the way how to control machine in remote mode. Right? So a second example, I promise you. For decades, we thought how to make a contact in between patient and doctor in the most efficient way, right? So the doctor sit at the front of the patient, was all the time under the hazard of being somehow or risking the contact, right? So, so the holy grail, the dream of the medicine space was how to move the control of the machine from the remote side, and it is where we landed today. We have all those you know, surgery robots running in remote side, having the 5G communication, I mean real-time communication with extremely fast processing speed. To have no delays, right? So I think in the next very close future, we will focus on remote rather on interaction. Voice is definitely something, and natural language is something where EY can help. AI can help, of course. Sorry, UI, yes, it's all of my time. So AI can help, right? But the one point here which I need to underline, you don't need, and I am underlining that, you don't need to simplify interface for engineers. Engineers like to have very complicated and a full control. what you need to simplify is the interface for, let me say, not educated users, for standard users, right? And here, for them, we simplify the interaction and the command interface for natural language. So why is that? Of course, we can answer this question very simply, because we produce robots for people who are not educated as engineers. So we produce electronic devices for ability to use those devices by not educated people. So in the future, we will continue this trend, but also we will leave the space for very sophisticated, let me say, much more flexible way of interact with the machine by engineers. And definitely you will not see low code, no code for guys who develop semiconductors or who develop those machines. You will see low code, no code and voice interaction for users. So this division is really crucial to understand where we are going.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah.
And maybe
sorry, go ahead,
Yeah.
Dirk. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Yeah,
Well,
maybe
I was
just
just
to
going
build
to quick comment. And the undergirth of that, the importance of engineering and the importance of having variety and perspective with that engineering is that much more important. Because what you just described, Alexander, is that, you know, the protocols for how we interact for those that are more of the common user will come from those engineers. Hence, going back to the basis of our conversation around making sure that we're ensuring that that engineering piece is rooted in a broad perspective. So that's all I wanted to say. I'm sorry, Dirk. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, and I just want to build off, because what Bartosz also said, and for Alexander, is that exactly how you describe now the programming, or kind of how you can kind of as a non-expert, a robot expert programmer, a robot, is because I think it still boils down that you say what you need. You said you want to have this package delivered there, and I think this is the new thing. So in that sense, I think we as human beings, we still need to say what is our intent, what do we want to do. And I think this is something where, of course, now the interface, before the interface was that we went to your coder and we said them, hey, this is the solution we want, and you need to code it. And I think this is the opportunity also. That means more people can now express their intent without maybe even direct access to software experts, robot experts, and so on.
Yes, exactly. And I think that we have a good ghost of Piotr Wiśniewski with us indirectly on the chat. So his question is, and this question will be to Mohan, what do you think about the statement that AI doesn't invent the future, but rather perfectly redistribute the past among all people?
Sorry, just repeat the last sentence. Okay.
Yeah, you have this. The question is on the chat.
Yeah, sorry, it doesn't. But perfectly redistribute past among.
That's like a super philosophical question.
Okay, I'm trying to think. How do I answer? Torian, you want to go first? Let me think. My thought process here.
I would ask that question with the question of where do we have examples of that up until this point? I can't think of anywhere it distributes it amongst all people. I think it comes down to the word, or one of the words that we've been using, which is around control, or maybe even creation. So we have an opportunity, since we're at an inflection point where, well, first of all, AI has been around for decades. Now, we hit this pivotal point to where now it's proliferated. It's a part of the lexicon across the world. And so the question would be, is how do we really utilize this time and this heightened sense of awareness to make sure that we are incorporating more voices into that, so we can have a broader perspective, so that we can build this out and offer it to humanity in a way that is more inclusive. I don't know how to do that, but I do know that it is something that's important. And I think it starts individually with leaders, with everyone here on this call, from a heightened sense of awareness and how we move forward in making sure that we have a broad aperture as we move forward, not only in our conversations, but really in our creation of our companies, products, robots that go along with the direction that we're trying to head. So that would be my short comment. But I have not seen, and I could be wrong, a situation where that actually proliferates across for everyone. I haven't seen that.
Yeah, I just want to comment the way that I understand this question, but I'm not so smart as Piotr Wiśniewski is, that the question is, in my humble opinion, is AI will help to balance the access to resources, for example. That's like is in a way the AI will be the great equalizer, or it will be exactly, because that was the story about internet. It's supposed to give the freedom and get the access to everyone, to the equal access to the information, data, and so on. And we end up with social media and information bulbs and so on. And the same question remain with AI. If AI will help to simply get the easier access to resources, or it will simply be in the hands of the big corporational companies and simply not change a bit and maybe make it even worse.
Well, and I'll quickly comment, then I'll shut up. I don't think it's going to. We'll see more of a shift. What the internet did was allow more access, but first you have to have the infrastructure, right? I was in Sierra Leone last year, where power comes from a ship that's sitting in the middle of the ocean that occasionally shuts off for a day or two in the capital city. So I would argue that a large data center in Freetown is likely something that is not on a foreseeable future, simply because there isn't a reliable power source. So we will see some redistribution. I think we will see a shift, particularly in areas where that infrastructure is there. But across the board, no, I don't think that it will make it equitable. I don't think it'll make it equal. I think it has the potential to make things more equitable, would be my short answer.
Just to add to that, right? I think, Torin, I was just reading an article last week, something called Agent Framework, which is coming up in the big generative AI world, which leads to artificial general intelligence in a decade time, which everyone is talking about, which we are not there, but in 10 years' time, we are going to achieve it. So what it does means is the agent framework is there are two agents independent of AI can automatically they discuss what is the best thing they need to do it, and they are doing it behalf of you. So it's like it's automatic. Both agents are talking to each other and they are performing something by themselves, and that's what they are trying to achieve using artificial general intelligence, which is 10 years down the line. So the question always comes around is somebody needs to be on top of it to make sure that whatever they are doing within that ethical framework, because everywhere now, if you see whether it's OpenAI or Claude or Gemini, everyone, they have an article written. That article, you need to follow that article. So you can't bypass that article. So the question comes out is, especially on this one, whether AI doesn't invent the future as long as that article defines what exactly is it. And that's where we are talking about EU law, because as long as the EU law defines what is it, and I think it needs to be same across, not only in the Europe, but it should be across everywhere, because if China does something and if it doesn't agree to what EU is doing, so then it becomes a disparity. I think we as a whole, everyone needs to come together and we need to agree a common framework across the board, so that everyone follow the same rules and regulations as well. Otherwise, it's America is doing something, let us do something different, then it can lead to a different eventually it could be leading to the different area as well.
Okay, cool.
Maybe
yeah, please.
Yeah, just want to add for me, and I think today's, I think Mohan mentioned that as well, as now with the regulation and so on. So as such, I clearly see the point of regulation, but also in that context, and maybe referring to the internet, I think for me, one of the most important things what we need to ensure is education. We need to provide people access to learn how, because I think regulation is always has a risk. It is always behind, and we have seen it with the EU AI Act and so on. The Gen AI topic came up, and they were falling behind this topic and so on. So, but I think also the learning from the internet period and so on is that we really need to make sure that everybody has access to what is this all about. So the more we educate everybody about the potential, about the risk, about the mechanics behind, the more they will be able to use it in the best way. And that's a bit where I think we see that with companies, but I would also say this, for example, in Germany, it's a bit my worry in terms of the educational system. It's too little about, this is something to come. Our kids are already using it. So it needs to be part of the educational system. And that's a bit where I would also see, and I also see a bit us as a company, for example, AI literacy or AI fluency is a topic which we do almost every day. We have trainings for different teams and so on, because we see it so important going forward. And that's something I think is also a societal task.
Yeah, I think it's as well about less pop knowledge and this playing with ChatGPT and more real immersion of the tools and everyday life support. And yeah, that I totally agree. And maybe this is a good moment because we simply navigate more into the broader picture, and it's great. It's really, I love this conversation. But I think that it's a good time to have Aleksandra Przegalinska avatar for one moment, because she's calling me all the time if she can ask a question, and let's give her a space or give it a space because this is a digital person. So let's give it a space, and let's maybe do we have Aleksandra with us, avatar of Aleksandra with us, and can we give her a chance to ask the question?
Now, delving into the topics of industrial automation, robotics, and digital transformation, I'd like to ask you, how can artificial intelligence help us create a more just and sustainable world? And what roles can different industries play in shaping a future where technological advances coexist with deeply held human values?
Alexander.
So we have three kingdoms already on our planet. So it's fauna, flora, and fungi. And the fungi is the interface in between flora and fauna. In my opinion, AI is already a kind of ketchup, like a Heinz ketchup, right? So everybody can use it, and everybody can afford it. Everybody can buy it. Everybody can use it for different purposes. Of course, it will not give you the competitive advantage if you are business, right? Because there is no competitive advantage because the restaurant have the ketchup or Coca-Cola, right? But it is something people want to see, and they think that it is just the standard, right? So this AI will be a first kingdom. Let me say, the artificial network of fungi. It will connect not only humans. It will connect all those three words together. Maybe fungi is not so important, but definitely the flora and fauna. And I think if we treat artificial intelligence, both this industrial artificial intelligence, controlling processes, making the process, factory processes, refinery processes more efficient, but also this artificial intelligence, we benefit, make our life easier. If we treat it as a ketchup, as a layer, then our life will be much easier. And then AI will our world better. referring to the question about controlling the access to resources, it is exactly what is happening again about this fungi. The one of the purpose of the fungi is to distribute resources to between the fauna and flora. So if you are aware of that, you then understand what is the purpose of this biological ecosystem. Here we talk about artificial ecosystem, and I am absolutely sure that in the close future we will plastic problem. We will turn around the plastic problem into the new opportunity just because of reusing it for connection for AI. I know that it sounds like a science fiction Dune problem or something like that, but you will see. It is the way how we can transfer electric signals, how we can efficiently connect different parts of the globe. And you will not be surprised that the plastic we have in the ocean will find a solution to transfer information in between those three layers. I mean, the fauna, flora, and fungi. Again, I want to bold it. I want to underline it that it sounds like a science fiction, and I can be probably the Herbert successor, but definitely we will see this kind of concept soon.
I'm a big fan of keeping the fungi in the picture, not out of the picture. but Torian, what's your thoughts?
Yes, I think that as humans, we're actors in this, and we all play a part, and we bring a lot to the table. And so, connecting that to the past comment, in that we are this artificial world that has been created and that is being accelerated at this point. If we look at it from a 360 standpoint, yes, we will find opportunities to solve larger problems. And at the same time, we will create other issues because we're bringing some of our flaws into that. And I don't think that's an alarming state. I think it's just a state of consciousness. For me, it's very important, and I keep taking it back to this broader perspective standpoint, because I do think that this is an opportunity to really have a more holistic integration of how the natural world and artificial world interact, which in turn will give us an opportunity to solve some of the larger challenges that we have with plastic, water, food, crops. I mean, a lot of different things that we'll be able to solve with that. So I think it's at the very center. I do think that things will look a lot more science fiction, even to those that we have on this call. However, to younger generations will be a little bit more normative. And if we think about it, from the horse and carriage to the automobile, that was a transitional period as well, that there were those who wanted to hang on to one aspect of it, and then there were those who said, hey, the car is how we want to get around. Now we're accelerating faster with that, and that gives us a really good opportunity for us to say, at the center of all this, people are humans. How do we interact? And as we're developing what that looks like, continue to develop what that looks like, how are we bringing as many backgrounds and perspectives to that, so that as best as we can as a human race, we are anticipating some of those larger issues that we could potentially create, as well as solving the plastic challenge that we have in our ocean. So I look forward to it, but I also understand that it's not a utopian. It's a new opportunity it's giving us new challenges right now. And it's very exciting. So that's my overarching comment around it.
Great. I just realized that, this looking the AI as a great connector is simply reducing my tension, my stress, and this completely changed the perspective of how the AI can be applied, and as well how can we as well design the future and our thinking about AI, because the fungi perspective is really the unique understanding of the network, which will simply create the new pathways for exchanging communication, and that's something, yeah, with really comforting, at least me, right now, when we're thinking about the possibility which are behind the bad use of AI, for example. Dirk, what's your answer on this?
Yeah, I would say it's a bit more like second also what Torian said in that sense. So I think we are of course at this, I would say, at this tipping point, and I think in a way of, I think to go back to the example with the horses and the cars and so on. Of course, in the beginning we didn't realize that there's also, it brings in new elements. I think we haven't thought about, that even being within a horse and so on, if you bump against the wall, it still can hurt quite a bit, and so on. And I think this is also where I would see we are at the tipping point, that we explore more like the opportunities, but it's also the most important point to always kind of reflect back and so on, what kind of contributes to the future revolution and evolution, but also what is kind of blocking us in that sense, what are kind of negative side. There will be also things negative. Maybe my only, and this is maybe a bit of a personality topic as such, but I'm a very opportunistic person in that sense. So for me, I'm more excited about the opportunities, with a strong belief that the shortcomings and maybe the limitations, we will find ways to overcome them and so on. But therefore I'm really excited about, going forward, but not naive in saying that there's no, there will be things where we need to be careful, where we need to regulate, where we need to educate, where we need to be conscious about the nature and our surroundings. So it's not an isolated world in that sense. And I think this is maybe for me the most important thing there.
Yeah. Mohan?
It's interesting, right? Because everybody wants to talk about AI, but nobody wants to talk about sustainability anymore. Because the one thing, it's a correlation. Because now if you want to use a Gen AI, it consumes more power than any other AI, normal AIs, okay, so, or any other software. So that means you need more energy. And where do you get, how sustainable can it be? Nobody is thinking about sustainability now. Everybody is thinking about generative AI. Oh, we want to do this. It has an impact on the environment. So that's something that it has to be coexisted, something that we need to. Amazing, Torian. What NVIDIA is doing is amazing, no doubt about it. But I think the question comes out is, everybody needs to think about how do we become more sustainable going forward using the AI. I think we have an answer, right? I think if you look at enterprises like BMW or Siemens or Foxconn are using AI to look at the quality control. They are using the sensing, visualize to look at the defects of the product which is making in that process. And that is increasing the efficiency by 10%. And you can utilize those resources who used to do manual activities to other more other activities, which you can be more efficient process going forward. So definitely AI is bringing more efficiency into what you're doing, because before, if you want to do search, I have to go into the Google, you search it and go thousands of pages to look for the details. Now I don't have to do it. I go into the ChatGPT or any other AI, I can quickly it gives a context to it, and you have the structured data already, which you can take it and you can start you're already one step ahead. It is saving a lot. I think going forward, it will only increase the efficiency of human being. The key is, I think everyone touched upon, is the AI governance as well as the AI adoption, which is always the difficult one. I think at least in SAP, we are encouraging everyone to understand more on what you can do and what you can't do, so that people use day-to-day life and the AI going forward as well.
Thank you so much. So I wish all of us to be more and more into the horse, not out of the horse.
And well, actually, I have a tool, an exercise for that.
Yeah, and I believe that it is the. And the second thought, it's like it should be as diverse as it can be. All the team in the horse should be in completely different geographies and way of thinking and gender, of course, and on many dimensions which should be mixed in the horse. And thank you very much. It was better than I could expect it. So we're closing the whole event with this conversation. So thank you even more, and hope to see you someday in person. And wish you a great day, whatever the plan for the rest day is.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Thank you all. Appreciate your insights, panel. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.